All right, cool. Sounds good to me.
What's going on? What's good? And what is up? You are watching / listening to the fastest growing podcast about personal finance based on cardboard pictures of cartoons. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Joseph Vasquez, who is a certified Pokemon expert. At least that is what I will call him. I don't know what Joe will say about himself, but I would say that he is an expert.
Been doing it a long time. I wouldn't say certified though.
Sure. Today's topic on the show, talking about Magic versus Pokemon in terms of investing, in terms of, not really too much as far as playing, but just in terms of the financial part of the games themselves, because for the longest time, Magic the Gathering was the king of games, not to steal that from Yu-Gi-Oh!, but in terms of finance, that was where the money was, quote unquote. I have two cards in front of you to show. There's no reason I'm showing other than for content. There is no flexing involved here, right? But you have the Black Lotus and Charizard. So
I remember you got that Lotus.
Yeah, listen, you were at the event where I got the Charizard, right? Spoiler alert, this Charizard's going out the door very soon. I got
what?
I part of the move. Remember that thing you tagged me in the other day? I don't want to spoil it for YouTube, but this is part of it. It is part of it. I wanted to diversify a little bit. At Gen Con, I paid $160 for that Charizard. Yeah, there's a lot more on top of it, my man.
I'm just saying, that's a great.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate it. What you're saying is a lot to me. So while we go over the talks and all that, we got a lot of people who sponsored today's video. I have Hidden Fates, and I have decided to crack a box of Double Masters as well, so we could take a look at big Pokemon and big Magic at basically the same time. So
at the current level,
cards, yeah,
it's not vintage.
Yeah, well, I'm going to need a lot more people to subscribe, and I'm going to need people to sit through the ads for me to do box breaks of maybe alpha versus base.
No, but I think it's important to say that because for the new viewers who don't know, these are both recent release products within the past year and a half. They're not old.
Yeah, and Hidden Fates even just had a recent re-release, which is where I got these packs from. So
and with the way both these sets are designed in terms of hit or miss, we want to explain that, typically with these high value sets, that we call it, the phrase is calling where the money goes.
Right.
When you open up, the money is in only 2 or 3 cards per set. So I think that's a very good disclaimer for new people.
Yeah, for sure. I think that from what I've seen as I venture more into Pokemon, because for a while I was really only doing vintage, right? Because it was what I knew when I was a kid. I know Charizards. Yeah, I collected what I liked. A lot of people know I collect Poliwraths, and I swipe them up as every time they're available. Doesn't matter condition. I don't care. They just go into a book. They go into whatever. I just like Poliwrath. But that's what I knew. So, but I think it's important for anybody involved in money to know at some point, expanding isn't just something that you should do. It's something that is just straight up inevitable, right? You're going to eventually want to broaden your horizons because eventually you're going to tap all of the market. So just in general, when it comes to, Pokemon and how you got into it, just give a small backstory on yourself. And I'm going to start while you talk. I'm going to crack some Hidden Fates with it, man.
I don't know if my story is small. It's 20 years in the making, but
that is why I set aside 48 booster packs, man. We're ready to sit here and have a chat.
So, let me introduce myself. My name is Joseph Vasquez. I'm from New York. I've been involved in trading card games since '99 when Pokemon hit America. That was my first love in terms of trading card games. It's 21 years, my involvement. And I started when base set came out. But I was casual. Just kid trying to make a Pokédex collection and casually play the game, so I always thought that, like, because in the card game originally, Blastoise, the Rain Dance deck it's referred to, was one of the best decks, and then the Hitmonchan, Electabuzz, Haymaker deck was the other best deck. Those cards were always better to me back then than Charizard, because like they beat Charizard, like the deck, like it was always like which deck is better. It wasn't as much as collectability, but what I did know is that if I went to the tournament and I won a Charizard, I could go home and trade my Charizard for all the cards I need for my deck or to build other decks. So it was great because back then Charizard was still highly coveted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my Magic beginnings are a little bit different. They started in around 2003. So this is like Onslaught's Odyssey block standard. Well, type 2 back then they called it.
Way back in the day.
Yes. This is before 8th edition, before Mirrodin. I started playing. Right? Yes. The end of the old border era, actually. Because when 8th edition came out, like that's when everyone was like in a frenzy, like, oh, what are you doing to our cards?
The first time we heard that does not look like a Magic card. Spoiler alert, we've heard that many times.
So it was an interesting time for Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was the main game I was playing at the time, because we were kind of bored. Like, it was just, there wasn't a real meta outside of like these beatdown decks that played this card named Donzalug and Yatagarasu for my hand disruption. It was just cards. A beatdown deck that had hand disruption main deck, and that was the best deck of the format. Like, everybody played it, unless you were playing like Exodia or like some weird off-theme deck.
Cards
like,
I have that deck.
Yeah, if you were playing in a tournament setting, you were playing this weird beatdown deck that had these cards to, hand disrupt your opponent. And that was the deck. It wasn't Chaos variant until like a year and a half later. But we were kind of bored with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Format because it was like, oh, summon Gemini Elf, attack. Summon Goblin Attack Force, attack over. Summon Spear Dragon, kill your Goblin Attack Force, take 19. That was the meta. We were bored, so we, in our local Neutral Ground and Forbidden Planet back in the day, shout out to Neutral Ground, shout out to Forbidden Planet. Those places is where I got started. We would approach the Magic players and be like, hey man, like, how do you play this game? Whatever. We stayed, because like they weren't, it was segregated, but not as segregated as people make it seem to be.
Yeah, there was the old stereotype that Magic players look down on everyone else, which I always found to be a little overblown.
They look down on Magic players who don't play Magic like that. Not outside game players, like, because they even play Yu-Gi-Oh! To make all the tournaments grow so the prize pots can grow for both games. So what ended up happening is we traded the Magic players meta staples for their Magic meta staples. So we were able to both have standard decks for both games.
Right, which is funny because that's what I talk about now. I say to people is like, don't lock yourself in on just one game. You want to diversify because there's so many options to go with.
And that's how like the tournaments grew to like 70 people for FNM, 80 people, was because like all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Kids started playing Magic and the Magic players. So it was like huge, and for back then, those are big numbers before the internet was big. This is still when, like, if you had DSL, you were the man. So
everyone was at your house for that LAN party.
Everyone was getting music from you.
It's like, listen, I'm gonna need these, and these. Like, I'm gonna need this.
Yeah, it was 80 minutes. That's your playlist, 80 minutes, because that's all that fit on a disc. So even back then, I was involved in the financing because
yeah, we got the birds for JJ. That's actually a pretty good pack.
And that was a double hit.
Yeah, that was a nice one right there. Hidden Fates. We have to pump the brakes on Hidden Fates and move Double Masters and see if Magic can keep up.
But yeah, so that was the beginning of my finance introduction.
Right. So you realized at the time that if you were to get, like, even if you didn't necessarily want the cards for yourself, it was important to know that if your collection had value, that could move towards the stuff that you actually did want and not have to, you know, spend out of pocket, which was never really ideal to just come too much out of your new money.
I was very broke back then. There wasn't that much out of pocket for me besides lint.
So, yeah, word. Listen, sometimes when some collections come across my way, I have to wipe my brow up and be like, man, I'm still broke.
You know, it's like, not that, but like,
this
time, I'm 14 years old at this time, right? 15 years old.
Yeah.
So this is how I figured out how to get lunch money, money for clothes, and like outside of card game money stuff, you know? Like, so for me, it was very good. Like, it was like, oh man, like I could win a tournament or top in a tournament, win some packs, sell the packs or sell the rares or whatever, get some money or trade up and get some money. Like, it became to me a grind.
Right.
Because like, I don't know if you, outside of New York City, but getting these MIC jobs in New York City is even hard. Like, it was not like 15, 16-year-old applying for a MIC job, still never got one.
Right.
So it was like,
but you figured it out, you know?
Yeah, I had to figure it out because, like, you know, I'm a young man. I want to dress well. I want to be able to eat like well, like you know, well for me back then, you know, I want to be able to get a bacon, egg, and cheese and a soda in the morning,
and not be so terrified, like, oh my goodness, I have no more money left at all, you know.
So that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic did for me back in like 2003.
Right.
Then it was just a lot of that for a long time, and then fast forward, it was a lot of grinding that, and then I switched over back to predominantly Yu-Gi-Oh! For a few years, from like 2007 to 2011. When was Zendikar? 2011? 2009?
Zendikar was 2009.
So yeah. So up until 2009, I was predominantly only Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time, with splashes of Pokemon and splashes of Magic. Nothing too serious. But then I started mixing both. So like I started buying a lot of Scalding Tarns for like $7-8, and like that was
for how much?
$7 or $8.
$7 or $8. I think you might have just sent the whole internet into a rage right now.
But that was retail back then for these cards. Yeah. It wasn't like I was like
it's
the big card was still Jace the Mind Sculptor. You know, like I'm not gonna sit here and act like, you know, Jace was still it, man. Like, and I remember I was in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Local and a guy came up to me. He's like, oh man, look at you playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But do you have like a $300 card? They showed me a foil Jace, and then I showed them 3 Dark Arm Dragons.
Yeah, like, exactly.
My cards are actually $350 each.
Yeah.
But nice.
It's also such a weird flex to be like, well, that's more about that guy. I'll be like, all right, guy, we got a badass over here.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments you don't forget. You know, like you just like, man, like, and I don't know anyone who knows me in real life. Like when I'm in a public setting, unless I'm with friends, I generally keep to myself. Like I don't really, outside of like me. If I'm with a circle of friends, yeah, I'll be loud and rambunctious and funny and all that. But like if I'm by myself, like in a local or a GP whatever, you see me normally like me with my over my book bag like this.
And you got your
like,
headphones on, you know.
Or if I'm not trading or whatever, you know, if I'm not interactive, I'm by myself. So like I'll never forget. I was just minding my business, and he just was like, hey, like he just saw me sorting some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards like to make a deck, and like felt the need to
let you know. Like, all right. Thanks for telling me. The only thing I got to ask you is, I don't know who asked. No one really asked what you had as far as your cards, but thanks for telling me. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. But he showed me like a foil Caw-Blade deck, and that deck was a lot of money back then. Foil.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's still a lot of money now. All the cards for that deck, like
it is, but compared to the percentage jumps of them, if you had those same exact cards, you know. But then again, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards have also really stayed kind of flat.
Yeah, I mean, first edition Dark Arm Dragons are not $350 anymore.
Nope.
I don't know what they are anymore. I haven't followed them in a while.
They're not that.
That's more
unless they're like gem mint, but even then, you know, like it's not. That's not the type of stuff that I like to target. You know.
I have a playset because I still have that deck fully put together.
Which is awesome.
Rarity. That's the only reason I have that. Like with the Shonen Jump Crush card and all that, like I still have that deck.
Yeah, that
Like,
Shonen Jump Crush card is still pretty nice. All the prize cards are
I
always going
have
to
to
be worth
send it in
something.
to get graded. Like, I have to, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll be a fool not right now
Well,
with everything that's going on.
not grading.
There's
I'm a big proponent. If you're not using it and it's in nice condition, and you could spare even a couple bucks, you might as well throw it in a slab. It's really not like where you're going to start playing Crush card. Like at this, you leave it on your mantelpiece. Ah, man.
wrong Zard.
Wrong Zard. I opened it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got really excited. These packs are currently for Victor, right? That I'm opening now. I was like, oh, Charizard. You know, you start worrying like people. I've been seeing the the promo that comes in the Elite Trainer boxes and PSA 10s going for like 3K. It's really crazy. So then, how did we move along into getting you into becoming? Because you were when I met you. You were Mr. Yu-Gi-Oh! Chinatown headed and doing all
That's what I'm. This is the part, like, because you met me around that time,
right?
Like, I met you and all those guys around that time, because like, I was known for having every Yu-Gi-Oh card. Like at that time, there was not a card that I didn't have. I had play sets of everything. I had more cards than the stores.
Right.
Like, not to be that brag, not to brag, but like definitely.
Please.
Like, people would be like, "Hey, can you come to the store? I need cards." Like, because the store didn't have them.
You might be happy to see this guy. I know you. Little Sudowoodo action.
Oh, that's my dude. Yeah. Sudowoodo is my guy. That is like, besides Gengar, that's like my absolutely second favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, Sudowoodo's
like,
up there for me.
I love all the personality Pokemon.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But we digress.
Mm-hmm.
Let's continue. So then this is like when I started to diversify into all three categories. Because people are like, yo, man, like, you have a crazy Pokemon collection. I never really seen you buy Pokemon like that. And I always tell people, like, you weren't paying attention. But I always was.
Mm-hmm.
So I firmly believed in, like, WotC cards and shining Pokemon. Shining Pokemon has been one of my baby investments for, like, a long time. I've always been, like, into them. So personally, like, I collected Shining Magikarp from Neo series. Back then, they were $20, but I used them as scapegoat tokens. So my scapegoat tokens were 4 Shining Magikarps or Dandelion token, or whatever like time I needed a token. It was always that. And I always bought WotC cards because I always thought like they were cool, and like I always was like, man, these are gonna be worth a lot of money one day.
So you knew from the jump that WotC cards, they weren't just like a nostalgia
piece. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. Like,
I don't think anyone did.
What happened recently is like the trajectory, like it was on a steady incline, right? Like every year is going up a percentage, every year is going up a percentage, every year is going up. But what happened this year is like the trajectory went like this. Right. It went almost straight up. So it's insane what's going on now. But I always felt strong about Pokemon because it has a TV show, it has a game, it has the video games, it has a manga. It's
the highest grossing media franchise of all time. It's more than Star Wars, more than Hello Kitty. It's got them all beat.
I didn't know what that was at that time. I wasn't I didn't know financial lingo like back in 2009. It wasn't my thing. Like, right. I was 2000. That puts me at 21 years old. Like, so I'm still like young, like out of high school where they barely teach you economics. They don't even tell you got to pay your taxes.
Yeah, they don't teach you anything. they fly, baby bird. It's kind of like kicking a baby bird out of the nest while it's still an egg.
But so 2012, when the X and Y cards came out, that's when I started really getting back into Pokemon. Because I started even buying up standard cards. And for people who don't know what standard is, that's like the current 2 or 3 years of cards that are out for tournament play. They have a format called standard.
Right.
Kind of like Magic.
Now, is it rotated based on year, or is it rotated based on like Sun and Moon or by Shield and Sword?
Nope. Right now, it's done in 4 block sets, just like Magic, annual 4 sets. But Pokemon has a half set that comes out every year now that's legal. That started with Sun and Moon. Before Sun and Moon, there was no such thing.
Okay.
It was just 4 sets, but now it's 5 sets. But one of them is the half set that comes out, like Hidden Fates, Champion's Path, Shining Legends, Dragon Man, like those sets. So, like from 2009 to 2012, I was still grinding, but I was doing all 3 games now.
Right. So you've expanded at this point. You're really moving on everything.
Because I met a few friends and we started playing Magic a lot. That's like I met you and Lewis, and like we started hanging out a lot back then. And like for me, I was like playing wise, I was more into Magic than all 3. But that's a good hit.
Yeah, right.
Charmander.
Let me get that in one of these sleeves here. Yeah, that's going to be the vibe of this video. You know, we're going to be getting into it, and they'll say, "Ooh, shiny," but that's kind of what cards are. You know, like it's just at the end of the day. It's still no matter what. It's like, listen, well, as we looking at the trajectory and the return on investments and the this and the that, ooh, shiny. That's all it really comes down to at the end of the day, right? Because we love this stuff, but you know.
Yes, I thoroughly collect cards, and people. It's hard for me to get cards to collect because of my reputation for always buying and selling. People assume everything I'm buying is to sell, and while I do, like I said, I collect shiny Magikarps. Whenever I pay full retail for them, people are like, "What? Like you paying full retail on a card, Joe?" And it's like, no, this is for me. Like I like this card. I like this card.
Yeah, that's what I say. Is like on the episode I had last week, where it's like you want your cards to go up so you can get the cards you like. You know, because everything has an inherent value to it. So, you know, like like I said, I moved this Charizard and I was able to get other things that I like as well. Now, yes, some of it, of course, was cash, but cash is just all it is anything. I could just turn that into whatever I want. You know, that's kind of what it is.
Cash will only be worth what it is today. You know,
exactly. Well, that's why, I invested. I'm someone who probably my biggest downfall would say is that I don't keep enough cash. I really just, as soon as I always got something I could buy, you know, I was like, there's a collection here, a collection there. There's always something I see. And I could say that's probably what,
man. That's an investor. And we'll get into that conversation later, like with the cash flow stuff.
Yeah.
That's coming. But,
so you were buying up, not buying up in that way, but you were always collecting and you were picking up WotC era cards, similar to how I started back a few years ago.
Always.
Yeah. Now that means that, you know, now that the ship, there's a huge storm, but you're already on the boat. You're already eating steak in the dining room table on the boat while there's a bunch of people waiting in line trying to knock the door down and people falling over the edges. And, you know, but you're already on the boat chilling, you know, so.
Yeah. It's a big reason I have as many Charizards as I do.
Yeah.
Like,
you weren't spending time yelling, "Oh, why is this thing $100?" You know, because like $100 may sound like a lot.
For a long time, like people are gonna think what they want to think. For a long time, I was paying $35 for Charizard.
Yeah,
that was just the price.
Which is $35. Which is where the bubble talk comes. See, the thing is it's hard to tell anything. You don't know if this was a correction or if this was just some craziness. If this is going to come back down, I don't see them coming back down personally.
I will explain that this is not a correction.
Okay.
And the reason it's not a correction is because now it's this is the effect of anything that when people get involved with money happens. It happens in art all the time and in toys all the time. And that's when I learned like a lot of my financial talk, speak, investment, like all these terms is when I got into the toys at 2014. 2014 is like when I started really getting into toys.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was one of the biggest toy guys back home. Like everybody's like, yo, like who got the rare pop? Joe got it. He got like 10 of that. Got like 20 of that. I don't know how, but he got it. And it was always like learning, you know, what to buy, how to buy, how to sell enough that, you know, to keep you afloat. But like, here's the thing when you start buying into collectibles that's rough, right? You're always going to have tied up cash flow because like, you're always going to buy stuff. That's the goal, is to buy and build up net worth. with these things. But you know, when they say, "Oh, Elon Musk, his net worth is this," or Jeff Bezos, his net worth is like whatever amount of billions. All those billions are in stocks. It's not cash.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually have that much money.
It's actually impossible for them to get it.
No, but I'm saying, and that's the other thing people don't understand. Like, if he cashes out, he's not cashing out for nowhere near that amount of money.
Nope.
Because the more he sells the stock, the more it drops. Because that means there's more available on the trade floor.
Right.
Like, so there's a common term that is called bleed it out, like in cards. And that's like, if you have like 200 copies or 300 copies, 1,000 copies or something, you only sell a couple at a time. Why? Because when you say, "Oh, I have 1,000 copies, here they are, here they're for sale," once you sell them, it drops.
Yeah.
You plummet the value of your thing. And, you know, that's not the goal. The goal, you know, the goal is to maximize value.
Right.
Right? Like, you're buying.
What I like to say is you're looking to buy into some equity. You know, like you would view it as like if you were to buy a house or if you were to buy any other stock, you don't go, "Okay, all of a sudden I'm broke." You want to look at what's the equity of what you have in this, because your net worth goes up when Charizard goes up. If you keep track of it on a spreadsheet and go, "Okay, I could sell Charizard for this," your net worth went up regardless of what you think it should or shouldn't have happened. No.
So yes and no, right? Because it depends on the item you're selling and the quantity. So with the house, your equity is always going to stay relatively close to the value, right? Because it's one house. It's not houses, or, you know. But now I'm going to put 1,000 houses on the thing. My equity isn't going to be close to the same because I have 1,000 of this item.
Right.
So even like, there's a sweet spot that you got to find, because like, yeah, Charizard obviously breaks the rule, right? Like, it's breaks all the rules.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. And my question, as we swing into Magic versus Pokemon in terms of an investment in the past and in the future, and I guess we could start to get into it now. And we have the Lotus and Charizard, which are just, you put up a picture a few years ago that I really liked. That was daddy meets son or whatever and all that. And you had the first edition Charizard and Alpha Lotus, and it's like, oh, the student is about to pass the master. I can't personally. I think that if I had to pick one, I can't see.
I get contacted about that picture all the time.
Yeah.
People ask both are available. What am I asking? And I'm like, yo, dog, those sold within an hour.
Yeah. Like, that's another thing. Just a quick aside about the liquidity of those high end things. I could find a buyer. It just depends how low I want to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Well, like, our situation was different. Like, right, we're at Gen Con.
Right.
And at Gen Con, you can't tie up that much money. Because there's going to be crazy collections coming your way the whole weekend. Yeah, now, if this is Sunday night Gen Con and that came, I would have kept both.
Man, imagine that,
you know? But right? You keep both. There's no way you don't keep both Sunday night, right? But on a Thursday afternoon, they got to go.
Yeah, I've been to GPs where I see vendors. I've been to GPs where I see vendors go, "Yeah, we're out of cash on a Friday," and I'm like, "You guys might as well just go home." You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you don't got any more money to buy, people don't realize the money is in the buy. It's all about what you're buying. We say I'm always buying. That's on the shirt. It says buy. You know, buy is the first word. Buy, sell, trade. Right? You want to buy first. But just about it's all about how Charizard's an anomaly, because in Magic you have the Power 9. You know, you have the 5 Moxen, Time Walk, Time Twister, Ancestral, and Lotus, and then you have
Time Twister is the best card Power 9.
Yeah, I think so, because of its CDH legality.
I think it's better than Lotus.
For the long term wise, you think so?
I said it. Like, you could clip that. Anyone who watches this later,
that's fine.
Clip that.
That's good to put that on the internet, man. Well,
whatever the timestamp is for that.
Listen, I'm a big believer in not only saying it if it's controversial, but also put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? I'm not telling people, hey, go buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I ain't got none. You know what I'm saying? I got plenty. You know, I got a few, and I'm looking for more while I'm at it. So if I say it,
what I'd rather have, $20,000 worth of Lotus or $20,000 worth of Time Twisters? Time Twisters.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's fair. But in Magic, okay, you have the Lotuses at one level, And then you have the rest of the 9, just in terms of current day on October 19th, 2020 values. It's quite a bit higher than the other 9s, but it's nowhere near the difference in Charizard to the next thing. And or even more drastic, like Charizard to the 9th biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? So like because everyone knows Charizard. That's why XY Evolutions is now through the roof. Simply because there's a Charizard that looks like this.
Well, it's also finally out of print. Like it's been in print for 5 years.
Yeah, I wonder if how many people actually know how much of that set was printed, man. Because I felt like I was seeing that set.
Printed. You were able to order it from distribution up until right before COVID. Actively. If you wanted cases right before COVID, you were still able to order cases. Yeah. That's how much of it was available.
So there's a lot of it out there. So that's something that I'm a little more skeptical on, although I'm never really too skeptical on sealed product, because sealed product is always something that can be done.
You can't. Sealed product is one of the few things that if you pay distribution price, you can't lose.
Yep, it doesn't.
You'll be even. And some people consider time equity and space as losses, which is true.
Yep.
Your time is worth something, and so is your space. But in terms of just dollars to item, you don't lose.
Yep. There's very few. Even Dragon's Maze, which is just a dumpster fire of a set, is not worth $10. You know, you could still get them like on some things for like 75, even like close to 90 sometimes, but it's not zero. You know what I mean? You just lost your time, and there's opportunity cost. Don't get me wrong, you lost a lot of money in it based off of just putting into even a savings account at this point, but it doesn't go down. So I say I'm okay with XY like sealed product, but I'm less but that just comes down to me just loving the vintage and the WotC stuff, and not being as knowledgeable on the newer stuff. You know, with that. Like, I don't know how it is.
So the X and Y era is part of Pokemon's modern. It's called Expanded.
Right.
So Pokemon has a modern format that qualifies you for Worlds and all that. And it's called Expanded, and it starts with Black and White era.
Wow.
So there's always room for cards to blow up in X and Y and Black and White because of interactions that come out even now. You know, like they'd be like, oh man, this card makes the old card busted. So
is that a big thing? Is that a big thing in Pokemon? Because I see, because the way
especially with the Black and White commons and uncommons, because the print policy back then for cards was crazy.
How do you mean by that?
So there's a card named Dark Patch. It's an uncommon. It's a rampant growth for dark energy.
Okay.
Much.
So unless you get
Pokemon, cards, it's an item card you could play 4 in a turn if you have that energy in. I think you play from your extra energy from your hand or bin. I forget which one, but if you have the energy to do it, you could play 4 of them in the turn and ramp up into like a big attack for dark Pokemon.
Right.
So every time a good dark Pokemon comes out, this card becomes $20.
Really? Now
every time.
Every single
then
time.
Then it settles to like 12 to 15 because like the dark deck, it depends how good the dark deck is. You know, when the dark deck is like only okay, the card is like $10 to $15.
Okay.
When the dark deck is good, it's always $20, $25. It's an uncommon. It's not a rare. It's not a foil. It's not a.
So and that's interesting to me because I guess maybe it's because of how I've jumped in during the time of COVID. Is that I thought that the cards of high value were really mostly for the collectability in Pokemon. I never really noticed about the playability. I never really considered the playability in the game to have much to do with the card value, how it is in Magic and how it is especially in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's all about is the card good in the format or is it a Dark Magician Girl? Something like that, because those are always valuable.
For Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not even just Dark Magician Girl. It matters if the card was on the TV show. And that's the reason why I believe Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh will surpass Magic.
You believe Pokemon, really? You think the vintage value Yu-Gi-Oh as well? Even with packs like this?
They have media forms, yes. They have media forms, right?
Yeah.
That Magic doesn't have. Magic only has novels.
And they're them getting involved in every other thing apparently now with
outside of random nerds playing and random people playing, as part of no culture, you typically know high fantasy stuff. Outside of those people playing, there's no way for the game to expand outside of word of mouth.
Yeah, right? I've said they keep trying to venture into like esports, but I don't see the collectability money of that long term.
But now Yu-Gi-Oh, like My dad knows what Yu-Gi-Oh is.
Every single person on Earth knows who Pikachu is. My grandmother knows who Pikachu is.
That's my point.
My grandmother was talking to me today about the purple lotus that she saw on some people's court. I was like, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have known anything about it. She didn't even call it the black lotus. Yeah, that I've always said that for a long time as well.
That's my point. And because of Magic's inability to attack the other media styles in markets, that's where it's going to lose. Like, the only people that have faith in Magic are people that have had faith for years.
Right.
Like, the new age people don't have faith in the vintage stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the barrier to entry for them, they can't get in.
Yeah, no,
it's its own.
Yeah, it is in its own like little world and all that. And a lot of times it's just the same people passing cards back and forth from one another. So in Pokemon, since we know in Magic, though, the one thing I'll say is that on like the trail down value, right? How like in Double Masters, even like as I've been opening up these packs here, I haven't really been talking about the cards I'm pulling. The people who are watching know it's about, the conversation more than anything. There's a lot of like more value to me than just the top end. You get a lot of $20, $10, $15 cards, where this is like you're looking for the $150, the big hitters, and then there's a lot of in the lower end.
But there's a lot of 20s in Hidden Fates too.
Yeah.
The whole Shiny Vault, I think the bottom on a GX from the Shiny Vault is $12.
Yeah.
Like this.
Well, Hidden Fates is a great set. I'm glad they did a small little restock.
What is it? There's 50 cards at the GX level in the Shiny Vault. I think something like that. Out of the 94, I think about 50 of them are
most
off
of them
the
are
top
pretty
of my
good.
real number. Like that are going to be $12 or more.
So what's your thoughts on then like cards like Poliwrath and Magneton being still relatively cheap? Like in terms of like even a PSA 10 or even the high end.
Well, here's the thing.
Compared to Mox Sapphire, Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale, cards like that for now.
Those were starter decks. Well, not Magneton. Magneton was just never a good card. And I don't think Magneton's anyone's favorite.
Right.
Like,
well, I mean, like the rest of the hollows, even,
they're not excited. They're not like, oh, a Magneton. It doesn't get anyone's blood.
Yeah, I'm the only weirdo here hyping up Poliwrath. I understand.
Poliwrath, I think Poliwrath would be expensive if it wasn't in a starter deck. Guaranteed.
That's fair. Well, but like
that's the problem.
In general, the cards like Zapdos, even some of the stuff that started out in Jungle, like Vaporeon.
Zapdos was in base set 2 and Legendary. It's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Zapdos was in every WotC reprint set. Like, how's it going to get expensive?
Well, you could say the same about Charizard,
like
no?
Charizard is the face of the company. There's a big difference. Charizard is Ash's most powerful Pokemon.
You think that Charizard, you'd say Charizard is the face of Pokemon, not Pikachu at this point? Or, well, Pikachu's like different?
You know how in the show, Ash had Pikachu, right? That was his best friend. But let me tell you something. When he went to like the Elite Four and stuff, and the Indigo Plateau.
Yeah, Pikachu's on deck.
No. They made special artwork for Seismic Toss.
Yeah.
Charizard flying around the world to body slam an Electabuzz.
Yeah, no, everyone remembers that stuff, man.
You know how crazy that is? I remember that episode 20 years later. Like,
we all do. Well, that's one of my thoughts about Yu-Gi-Oh as well.
That's what Pokemon has.
Yeah.
That Magic doesn't.
That's one of my thoughts about Yu-Gi-Oh too. We all know what a Shadow Realm is, yeah.
You remember when Charizard was beating up on everybody? That's the thing. Charizard beat up on everybody.
Yeah, no one's like, yo, do you remember when John Finkel cracked that Black Lotus to cast Mind Twist? And we're like, no, I don't. Not at all.
It's a big thing, and that's why Charizard is so iconic. Because like the main character had one. It was his most powerful Pokemon by a lot. It had its own attitude that didn't even listen to him, that he had to send it to training. And that was the thing, like it was like when Ash got to the Johto Pokemon League, he's like, I need to get my Charizard because like I don't think I'm gonna win without him. You remember? And then Charizard came and he was listening. He's like, all right, I'll listen to you now. And then that guy came with the Blaziken and beat him up still. That was crazy too. I'm surprised Blaziken cards aren't expensive because the way they debuted Blaziken, he wasn't in Pokemon yet. 3rd generation wasn't out yet. But like Harrison had one. And how do I know this guy's name is Harrison is beyond me. Like, I'll never forget his name. Harrison had one, and he just came out and, like, picked all the Meganium leaves from the Razor Leaf. That was what he came and did that and beat up Meganium, like, 1, 2, 3. Like, you know, so, like, Charizard just being an iconic, powerful Pokemon in the show, and in all the other media, like, it's always like, yo, Charizard strong. That has a lot to do with it. Sword and Shield, the Pokemon champion's main Pokemon is Charizard.
Yeah, after all these years where they're trying to push newer Pokemon, try to really make, you know, the next one like that, still all these years later, Charizard is holding down.
That's insane. The Pokemon champion's main Pokemon is a VMAX Charizard.
Do you think at some point, though, that'll reach where people will get sick of it? Do you think that there's a potential for that, where people could look at...
being born again.
Yeah, that's true. My nephew, he's buying cards. You know, we take him to his birthday, and he says, "What do you want? I give you $70 to buy anything." He's buying Pokemon cards, trying to pull the Charizard. He knows what's up.
I think in 20 years, the same type of boom is going to happen with all the kids that are like 10 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
Like how the kids that were 10 to 14 back in WotC days are buying into Pokemon now, because it's mostly 30 to 40-year-olds that are buying these cards.
Yeah, I've seen the analytics pages of some of the big guys' 30s, yeah.
I don't have to look at the analytics. I never seen it, but I can tell you it.
Right.
Because it's the same thing that happened with Magic. In 2015, when I unlimited...
Oh, and you cut down for a second. Run that point right back.
I was saying before 2014, you could buy unlimited Lotus for $1,200.
Yeah.
Before the first big boom in Magic.
Yeah, and my first
same thing that happened. The Magic and Pokemon are 6 years apart.
That was my logic at Gen Con. That was my logic at that Gen Con to get in.
2014, 2015, that year. Magic's big boom. 6 years later, 2020, here we are. It's going to be Pokemon's time. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out 2 years after, but I think it's going to happen sooner because of, like, just how the internet works.
And people seeing what's going on with Charizard and going, what's next.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is also going to happen next year, like, big.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see, like, $20,000, $40,000 Blue Eyes White Dragon first edition.
First, the DDS one? Well, there's no first out of the DDS. It's just...
No, I'm saying, I know. But I'm saying either one, I'm saying.
Yeah. So
like, one of them's going to mark.
Yeah, I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is extremely untapped. I think a lot of the issue is that you get a lot of the people in Magic who look at it and just kind of scoff. And I think that's kind of ignorant. It's like... We remember this as kids, like how you were talking about how you all remember Charizard, doing his thing. We all remember Seto Kaiba, doing his thing as well. And the memes availability of it. And everyone knows what a Shadow Realm is. You know what I mean? There's a lot to it. When you say Battle City, we only think one thing. You're not thinking anything else.
God cards.
Yeah, the God cards. Yeah, and I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a nice spread also, because you have people that really relate to a lot of cards, not just Blue Eyes,
Different generation, same way with Pokemon. That's what I was gonna say. Like, someone like your nephew, like these GXs and stuff that are out now, he's gonna want them when he's 30 years old.
Right. So like a Rainbow Charizard.
The cards of now, he's gonna, well, not the Charizard particularly, but whatever they have in the show, whatever the big guys are in the show now.
Right.
So like a Greninja.
Greninja is real popular, man. Yeah.
The Gudra,
mm-hmm.
the dragon, he's gonna be super popular. The Tapus are gonna be super popular. The whatever he ends up with in Sword and Shield.
So just all these things, like, and this is something that I talk about as well, even for people to look at now, instead of just scoffing at the new stuff, you could say, let me look for where the advantage is in over time, because if they appreciate there, as long as you keep the percentages up and you have enough, eventually you can run your way towards some of the WotC stuff, even if today it seems out of reach, just grind until you get to where you want to be, like it might get hard, but
I know I'm priced out of a first 10 Charizard. I don't have that money. Well, I can get the money for the card, but I don't think
Is it worth it
buying
to
it
you
at
though,
today's
right?
price.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point that I'm probably gonna get a house off of my Pokemon cards.
Ain't that something?
Like,
and I think
it
that's
is
awesome. I think that's the
means
thing
a
that
lot to me, especially. It means so much.
Yeah, not for
because
sure.
I was always ridiculed from people outside the community.
Yeah.
Like the non-nerds, the non-card game players, the normal Joe 9 to 5 type people.
Yep.
Always
punching in
made fun of me and told me I'm wasting my time and what am I doing with my life? Why don't I finish and get my degree? Why don't I? There's so many things that people always are telling me.
And you know what? You didn't listen. And that's exactly what you did. And look how it's turned out, because you followed what you wanted to do. You know, and because it was what you wanted to do, you were able to seek knowledge in it, and you were able to really learn about it because you like it. You know, if you were in a classroom learning about something you don't care about, there's no way you're going to put that much.
It's like I wanted to do. It's what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and
whenever you hear, well, I liked it, but like it's not so much like what I want to do for a living. I never expected that I was going to be like selling cards. Like that was never like the job. Like, you know, if I had to go back to high school, I'm going to be a card seller.
Most
like,
likely,
never...
most likely to flip over cardboard cartoon pictures.
Yeah, for me, it's and this is what happened when I got out of toys. Even though I knew a lot about toys and was learning a lot, I made a decision, a conscious decision. I should just go back to what I know. Back to basics. What do I know the most about? And it was Pokemon and Magic cards. That's where my knowledge was the best. And that's it. That's all I kept doing then after that, and still doing to this day. You know, you gotta like work with what you know.
Yeah.
Like,
and expand from there.
Yes. But yeah.
I would have went nuts for an energy that looked like this when I was a kid.
We all would have.
Yeah, man, this thing is awesome. You know, so just like in the long term, you would say that you are more bullish in terms of Pokemon than you are Magic at this point, and as far as growth in the long term. Where do you see Magic in 20 years, 25 years? You know, like in the 50-year, if you had to just, you know, in general, in terms of its positioning within the big three, because it's always been the king, you know, for the longest time, it was the Black Lotus that was it. That was the king of card games. And I think within a few weeks, you know, or months or even a few years, Charizard, First Ed, PSA. I mean, it's already insane, the price of it compared to the pop, because the pop of Alpha 10 is very, very low. It's like 30 times less than Charizard, but it doesn't cost 30 times less than the Charizard.
There's 50 Charizards at PSA 10.
There's only 50. There's 50 only of 50. Those? Okay.
There's 2 BGS.
The gold labels. Well, I think there was one that transferred over.
One guy has both.
Gary, yeah.
Yeah, Gary has both. He has both. And he has over 10 Charizard, PSA 10.
Mm-hmm. But just think about how many of those, there's so many more Charizards than Black Lotus, and the price is the gap is closing quickly. You know, so that just shows how high the demand is compared to Magic. Yeah. You know?
Whoever argues against that is not biased. In the real.
Yeah, they're biased. They're living in the world where their cards have been there, and they think it'll always be.
What they invested in, they're gonna fight for their investment.
That's fair. Yeah, that's understandable, right?
That's what that is at the end of the day, right? Like that's the thing they chose to invest in. They're gonna defend it because they've been doing it for a long time. Like, no problem. But facts are facts. You know, it is what.
So years from now, you would say that you could see Pokemon having Magic beat just by for sure.
I always felt like Pokemon had Magic beat though, because it's the one that you go to any of my 5-row boxes in my apartment. It's all mostly Pokemon.
And even the bulk rate is much better.
I mean, that's always been.
Yeah, Magic bulk is I found
Laughable.
you could find a box of Magic Bulk in the side of a Taco Bell, just chilling doing nothing because it doesn't really have much.
Like just yeah. I mean, but then
It also doesn't
that buy that I wanted to do in 2014, right?
Right.
Everyone knows about this. Like all my friends that I was gonna buy all the bizarre Bagdads off the internet. It'll cost me $32,000 at the time. That was all the money I had.
32,000.
32,000.
Okay.
That was literally every dollar. I would have been broke had I done it. I didn't do it. And Bizarre Baghdad, the bottom right now is $1,500.
Yep.
The bottom of a Bizarre Baghdad back then was $300.
Yep, I remember we were sitting in an IHOP talking about it.
I was making phone calls. I was making phone calls to people like, "Hey, like, is this something I should do?" And
at the time, truthfully speaking, did you think that it was something you were supposed to do?
I was so scared.
Okay.
I was so scared because, like I said, that would have been like literally every dollar I had.
You would have been pushing all in. You know, like all the way in. It's interesting. I mean, I personally, I believe in diversifying, even within a thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I could see why you wouldn't do it. You know, it doesn't really matter. Like, just because it didn't work out, it's not so.
I always tell people, even if you're right, doesn't mean you won.
Yeah.
And people don't get that. Just because you called it right doesn't mean you won.
Yeah, I actually I celebrate my losses more than I do my victories, to be real with you.
It's not that. It's just because you call it that it's going to happen that way doesn't mean it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if I put all my money, every dollar I had at the time, and this was when I was transitioning businesses, like, if I did that, all my Charizards will be sold. All my Shinings will be sold. Everything will be sold out.
Yep.
To pay for. And all I would have was Bizarre Bagdads. And if it flopped, I would have been stuck in the water.
Yeah. It also didn't necessarily beat out the stuff you held. You know, look at it now. Look, like if you would have sold all of your Charizards to 3x your money, where it's like, oh, that's good, but some of these Charizards are 100x.
Dollars.
It was how much?
$35-$40 back then.
For a clean one, right? Like how much for PSA 10 back then? I know grading wasn't as big as it is.
Ungraded. I don't know what the graded ones were back then, but a raw near mint one was like $70 back then. But even they didn't really exist like that. Like they don't really exist like that now. Clean, super clean. Like back then, the surface scratching on the WotC cards is very rough. Like it's hard to get a card that doesn't have any.
No, yeah, for sure. That's something where people send me cards and are like, hey, this card looks really clean. I'm like, all right, do me a favor. Take a flash picture of the foiling. And they show me and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's like a 5, dude. Because that surface is shot boxed.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that. Like the near mint cards don't really.
Well, that's something that a lot of people who are getting into it now really got to consider. You know, a lot of people are just getting into this looking for the quick buck, and you see it on the groups where they're like, hey, here's a bunch of boxes at a Walmart. What's worth some money? And I'm like, you guys are all gonna get burned, or they might not. But odds are they're gonna do something stupid. You know, I told someone to buy into. I won't say his name. But to buy into Yugi, He's like, yo, I just got a Monster Reborn first ed for $90. He shows me it, LOBE. I'm like, that's not a Legend of Blue Eyes one, man. That's the European print. I was like, yep. And he's like, I'm such a fool. I was like, dude, that's why when you go gung-ho and you come out guns blazing, you're risking it.
I know somebody that once bought a PSA 9 Raichu first edition. But didn't know that non-English ones were not good.
Was that me? That might be me. You know, it's funny. You know, it's really funny. Let me show you. I returned it. I was fortunate enough that they gave me this instead. They took it back. I think the Zapdos has beat.
You're very lucky.
Yeah, no, they were. I said, listen, could you take it back for an even trade? I just didn't realize it was what it is. Yeah, nah, man. I think it's great to celebrate your mistakes. You learn. That's why I try on this channel to tell people like what I've done wrong. I explained how,
Oh, I've been doing it wrong for 20 years, but you know what? People see what I've done right, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you did it right a few times though," and
yeah,
that's all
nah.
they see.
Well, they see this Charizard, right? They see that it's like, oh, you did that, But it was funny. Around the same time, I also bought a bunch of those Modern Horizons lands that you crack to draw a card because I had thought, oh, these have got
I
to
was
be
like
able.
a year later.
Yeah, nah, dude, they're down like 40%. It's just dead money. It's like from the time I bought them a year ago. And it's one of those things where it's like the opportunity cost is there because what I could have done with the money instead, I could have bought Charizards, I could have done this. So you just got to know that. No, of course.
On the Charizard train.
Of
You weren't
course.
on the.
The thing that's
So like
funny
that,
is
you can't say that.
nah,
But what you can't say is like there were other Magic cards that you knew about that were good.
Yeah.
Like I bought Transmute Artifact last year.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
At $8.
Yeah, nah, that's
like,
pretty nice.
You know what I mean? Like their cards, their other cards, there's always another card. But
yeah,
like you're not always gonna get it right.
Exactly. And I even told that to people at the time who were like, oh yeah, this sounds great. If I had the money, I would do this. I'd be like, relax. I said there is a fail rate to this stuff.
What you did was not unreasonable in the thought process, right?
No, I thought it out. It just didn't work out. Like I can't really say anything so bad.
I still don't think it's unreasonable. You might have paid high, but I don't think it was bad because once Paper Magic returns, like you have a good opportunity to get a lot of your money back.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think if COVID didn't have the effect that it had, you would have been fine.
It's so hard to say how much of all of this is COVID. Everyone has their opinions in terms of, oh, COVID did this to it, stimulus check. It's like people got $1,200. You
bought into a card that was a tournament format card. You didn't buy into an EDH casual card. That's why I'm saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you bought into an EDH casual card, then COVID would have made your card even skyrocket.
Yeah, exactly.
All the EDH cards went crazy. But the tournament cards are down. All of them.
They're all bad. I mean, I've been a big proponent in
when
terms
is
of
Misty Rainforest more expensive than Scalding Tarn?
Yep. Speaking of that, there we go.
That's a good one.
Ooh, this is a decent box stopper pack.
Two good ones.
Very, very nice.
No uncommon rares.
Yeah, nah. Although I do enjoy me some crop rotation. I gotta say,
I was a scam, and they did that messed up. They should have just said it for how it was from the beginning.
But I will say this about WotC is that they give their players a lot more than a lot of other companies do because they sent all those packs out to people. They could have told everyone, listen, we're going to send you some rocks and some shoes, and you could put the two together. You know what I'm saying? They could have told everyone, kick rocks.
I have some J shoes right now. Them J shoes are expensive.
Yeah, man. That got botted up. All my boys hit, all my sneakerhead boys.
No, I had it on the screen. I was going to buy it, and I didn't.
Why not?
I had the link. Because I thought it was corny.
Yeah, but come on, man. A lot of stuff's corny.
I'm serious.
Yeah, these secret layers are corny too.
I know the people with the bots. I know them. So I could have got them.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, yeah, man.
But I definitely
I tell you,
they look corny.
Man.
I was like, I'm not buying them, man. And then they're like almost $1,000 out of nowhere. It's like,
yeah, my friend who's a sneakerhead, he didn't even know about them until after. He's like, why are these so much? I was like, because honestly, man, Magic players just do really weird things from time to time. You know, like it's really hard to fully tell. So, in conclusion, with it, we got a lot going on in the world with. But I always try to tell people is always, don't worry about what's going on with what's crazy in Charizard. Just look for the next thing. If you think something's under, so if you're telling me that you think Yu-Gi-Oh is down, I'm telling you that I think that Yu-Gi-Oh is lower than it should be. It might be something to look into. You know what I mean? It's a good thought instead of worrying and arguing and yelling. I had this
conversation with you before. Anything in the TV show, man, if you saw the card on the TV show and it has a hollow version, first edition, go after it. If you want to put your money into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Now I stopped watching the TV
it doesn't
show
necessarily
after the first
have to
season.
be. No, but I'm saying even back then, like it's Celtic Guardian first edition.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this over this right here.
Utterly useless, but because it was one of Yugi's cards, it would be worth something.
Yeah,
that's the point I'm getting at. Like it doesn't have to be the blue eyes.
Yeah, and if you can't afford the blue eyes, you don't have to get
Pokemon
nothing.
don't understand the wins are. there's a lot of wins that are not named Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Well, yeah, you have that. A lot of the new money that's coming in doesn't really have any much knowledge of that. That was my logic behind picking this up. Relinquished. Wasn't Pegasus's big card?
MRL one.
What?
You should have bought the MRL one.
Well, this is a lot. Well, this one costs less. You know, I got a really good deal on this. The MRL one ended yesterday at 900. I got this for 2. You know,
I was about to say that might be,
okay.
Even what's the other one?
Thousand Eyes Restrict. That is one of my number one wants. I love Thousand Eyes Restrict. Just as I was the weird kid that liked Pegasus.
Oh no, you're not the only one. That's my dude. Yugi boy.
Yeah,
so...
yeah, I always wanted a Millennium Eye. All right, man. So I appreciate you taking that. Listen, check out hotsaucegames.com.
That's where I work at.
Yeah, for all of your Magic needs, your Yu-Gi-Oh needs, your Pokemon needs, for all your gaming needs. They got everything you need. They got your hookup. They're one of the coolest guys. Let them know I sent you in the notes. That would be awesome. That would be great. So just get everything.
I'm going to work out a coupon code for when this episode comes out.
I'm posting it today, man, so I can just add to it after.
This episode comes out today.
This one comes out today. Don't worry about it. The coupon code will be in the description below. We don't have it now, and we'll get it to work. So listen, Joe,
I'll get you a percentage off of your orders. Our Yu-Gi-Oh inventory, unfortunately, is not that deep because we don't have a Yu-Gi-Oh guy right now. But our Pokemon for standard and our Magic inventory is probably one of the deepest ever.
And they're conditioning.
Website, I'll get you a code.
I got a video coming out on Wednesday where I show a lot of the cards I got from through Joe, but from Hot Sauce. Their grading is some of the strictest in the business. You get MP, you're going to tell your friends it was near mint. You're going to get what you need. It's going to come along great.
Yeah, we are very strict with that because of the way TCG Direct works.
Yeah,
with their grading, we have to be extremely strict.
I mean, just the way you work, but, you keep yourselves wanting to have, good, your reputation is everything in this business. Your reputation is everything in every business. It's, guard it with your life. That would be another thing I say is your reputation and yourself are your biggest investments you can make. All right. So check out Hot Sauce Games. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you like content like this, I'll post videos every single weekday. And I got a really cool video coming out this weekend. All right, Joe, it's been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. All right, my friend.
All right. I'll see you soon when I come back home.
Take care, man.